Saturday Night Talkaway. I'm Danielle Nicholls. This is Andre Walker.
No, do it again.
Oh, God.
Do it again.
Okay.
I'm not joking.
I'm Danielle Nicholls. This is a fantastic, clever, amazing, awe-inspiring,
attractive,
blue-shirted,
beautifully attractive,
waistcoated,
tie slightly off,
slight tinting hairdo, Andre Walker.
Thank you very much. And this is Danielle, a person I like to think of as somebody I worked with. Anyway,
you think he's joking?
You and I get on well together, but we have had a difference of opinion this week, haven't we?
Oh, we've had a fight this week.
Now, we will introduce our guest co-host today, who's Andrew Eborn, who I know has been phenomenally popular in the past couple of weeks. By popular demand, and we didn't get to your camera quickly enough.
Oh, no, they didn't do that. Well, so nice to see you. Thank you for
But look, we've had disagreement this week, haven't we? And I'm going to say to you the following. I think the cancellation of the northern leg of HS2 is absolutely the right thing for this country, and I'm going to explain why. You and I have both taken the West Coast Main Line on multiple occasions. You take it from Manchester Piccadilly, I take it from Warrington Bank Quay, but north of Birmingham, there are only 4 trains per hour on the West Coast Main Line, and actually, the whole HS2 project for me was missold. Basically, they kept saying it was about being quicker this and quicker that. It's not. The West Coast Main Line in between London and Birmingham, places like Watford, places like Wembley, places like Tring, places like Berkhamsted need additional capacity. So all they're trying to do is get people quickly from London to Birmingham so that they can have a local stopping service for people in the south of England. I do think there should be more rail in the north, but I think it should be Transpennine. Now, Danielle...
Is it my turn?
It's fair to say...
Is it my turn? Right, OK. This north-south divide is really doing my head in. And anybody out there is watching, and I know we have northern fans of the show, well, I completely agree.
I'm not the
This is the way I feel. Of course, HS2 is a big fat waste of money, right? We all know that. Absolutely. What a load of rubbish. It shouldn't cost as much money. Just get the train service that exists, get them better, put better services on, put more services on. We all know that they didn't need to plough all this money into this magic train. However, they did. So they decided to do it, but only to Birmingham. That's the bit that really makes me angry. You cannot then say, oh, we'll just now they've got another fantastic link from Birmingham to London. You don't need it. I used to live in Birmingham. You don't need another great link between Birmingham and Manchester, London. It's fine. But now they just left all the north of England out of the equation. We don't mind and we don't matter. And who cares about the northerners? Well, I care. I care about the northerners. I care.
Right, wait for this, folks. But what about those people in Berkshire and Surrey and Buckinghamshire
I've already had a row with a guest that Andre brought in, so Andre's brought in a work experience. That sounds very odd, doesn't it? However, he said, how much time door to door? I said, door to door, and that's if you go in convenient hours, it's 4 hours, right? He said, no, it's not, blah, blah, blah. I had to stop him. He said, I get on at Stockport. Completely different equation altogether. Completely different equation altogether.
Andrew, I'm going to ask you this as a serious question.
Go for it.
So, look, there is a real problem with public infrastructure in this country. That's not the question, by the way. That's simply a comment.
A fact.
But for me, if you are going to do something in terms of that, what you would do is make sure you relieve the lack of capacity in the southeast of England. But in the north, you should do all of the projects that Rishi Sunak listed. Now, my question to you, as somebody who's been a seasoned commentator for a long time, do you believe that Rishi Sunak is genuine when he says we're not going to spend this 32 billion on the Northern Link, but we will spend it on projects in the north?
I think I've got a fantastic theory on this. Apart from being Manc Robbery, I love the north as well. I'm with you, Danielle, on that one.
Hang on. No.
I'll give you my answer.
How have I turned into the southerner?
You're a southerner today.
You can tell my great northern accent. This is wonderful.
Andrew, everybody who does an impersonation of me makes me sound like Johnny Vegas. How can
I reckon Sunak has been incredibly clever because what he's done, he's promised it to lots of other people so that he realises it's not this election which is going to come up, which he's going to win, but maybe the next one which the Conservatives are going to do. So what's going to happen is Keir Starmer will come in with his people and he'll say, well, what am I going to do about HS2? I probably have to reverse that, but if I reverse it, I'm going to upset all the people that Sunak's promised the new money to. So what Sunak did in his speech, he turned around and said, we're going to spend every single penny elsewhere. So Euston, we have a problem problem. But you work on that sort of principle that the infrastructure, the lifeblood of what we've got is right.
Where are they going to spend every single penny then?
Well,
because
the devil's in the details, yes.
Exactly. So I've lived in Manchester. I've lived in Scotland.
Yes.
I've lived down here, down
What
south.
a weekend that was.
Yeah, all over the place. So I have got a very wide view of what it looks like, and there is no way in any way that our capacity for public transport is anything like it is down south.
But let me give you an example, right? So near where I'd come from, they've got a major problem. Leigh is one of the largest towns in the United Kingdom.
It is indeed,
not to have a railway station, and obviously there's no obvious solution to that. What I would like to see is the Manchester tram extended all the way across Greater Manchester. Now, I genuinely believe that's more useful, and I'll tell you the reason. Because the problem that you have when you travel around this country, and to be fair, the three of us have done it a fair amount, right? If you want to go to London, you're fine. If you want to go, so if you decide you want to go from, say, I don't know,
a town to a town,
Rotherham to Glasgow, right? Then suddenly you start having a problem. I had a friend who lived in Peterborough. Yeah, I had a friend who lived in Peterborough. Now you know I lived on the outskirts of Greater Manchester. You know, Manchester and Peterborough.
I lived in Peterborough.
Are fair-sized places, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a nightmare to get that. I'll tell you that Trans-Pennine Express, and I'm not blaming the operator necessarily on this occasion. The infrastructure is out of date.
No, and you're absolutely right. What we need to make
However, by the way, can I just point this out? When the train's running from Peterborough, they do run into the early hours of the morning, as they do to Kent, as they do in almost
and shout out to Hull Trains who kept on doing things. I had a big event on down that sort of stuff.
If you live up north, everything stops at 9 o'clock apparently. And you just don't go anywhere or do anything.
The other scandal is this: we need to have a connected railway to make sure that the lifeblood, the pumping heart of this country is connected. They are the arteries. The scandal is this: it costs me more to go to Manchester than it does to go down to Nice, and I fly around all over the world, and it's crazy.
I have just flew to Portugal for less than it cost me to come to London every week.
That is my point. We need to look at that. We need to get the great people of Britain travelling, using the trains, environmentally friendly, but the cost of it is horrendous. I'm sure people have got a view.
People are getting in touch.
Oh, they are. People have a view.
Go and read that.
Oh, my God. The presenter on at the moment is an absolute piece of a Greek goddess.
Okay. Look at you.
I will have that. It's obviously you, isn't it? Unbelievable. Beautiful. Eye-popping dress. Well done. You've revitalised a farm worker who just spent 8 hours and come home to that. That lassie's dress has revived me. Stunning. Please pass it on.
It's not the dress he likes.
Thank you.
It's not the dress he likes. Right.
It's the Victoria's Secret Sunday.
By the way, before we go to our calls, I just want to say one thing that has been a joy for me today. I've discovered that I've won in the Runnymede Arts Society raffle.
Oh, what did you win?
I'm not joking. I've won some Neil's Yard citrus shower gel.
No,
RRP,
citrus one as well.
So
I love citrus stuff.
But you know what I do want to say? I want to thank the Runnymede Arts Society simply because local painting, we should all support it.
We should.
Local artists, right? That's my plug.
Look at you doing something nice about art for once.
Shut up, they paid me.
Ken, that's all. We've got Ken on the line who wants to talk about HS2. Hi, Ken. Can you hear us okay?
Hey, Ken.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. But in my opinion, my humble opinion as a bricklayer, I believe in the current economic world situation which we are in, it would be total folly for the UK government to spend over 100 billion with the rising costs on a new train line which would take 35 minutes off of a train journey. This is absolute folly even to consider.
Ken, can I ask you
It is, but why did they half do it? They should have never done it in the first place, Ken. That was my point.
Correct.
Don't half do it. So it should never have been passed in the first place. They should just improve the lanes.
I totally agree with you, Danielle.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. But listen, if you don't mind, there is something taking place in the world right now which is leading us to the Battle of Armageddon. The battle for Israel and Jerusalem. This is what we should be talking about, because the world is rushing right now into a hurricane of warfare, and it's all going to focus on Israel, hatred of the Jew, hatred of Israel, we are in big trouble. And this is
It's
all
not good
in
news,
the
is it,
Bible.
Ken?
I've got to
This
say
is
to you,
all in
Ken.
the Bible, which you mock. You mock the Bible.
I don't mock the Bible.
Recorded in the Bible.
I don't mock the Bible,
Ken, can I ask you this? I was reading about WACFA's comments. They are the authority, the Jordanian authority that runs the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which, by the way, is the Jewish temple of Jerusalem. I have to say to you, I genuinely think that it is wholly reasonable, the arrangement, well, actually beyond reasonable, the arrangements are at the moment that whilst any religion can visit the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the Temple Mount of Judaism, only Muslims can pray there. And the fact is there have been some Jewish people who have decided to break that rule and decided to pray there, even though it's against the rules in both Israel and of the Jordanian authority that runs it. I personally believe that this is the Jewish temple. It's clearly there first.
Of course it is.
Everybody who wants to pray there should be allowed to pray there. And I have to say, I don't agree with the Israeli government when they say that only Muslims should be allowed to pray there.
Of course, I agree with you totally here. This is the most sacred place in Jewish history, the Temple Mount. This is where the temple was, and this is where Jesus Christ was crucified.
Yeah.
Just to explain something to viewers and listeners.
Yes.
So, the Muslims believe that this is the place that Muhammad ascended into heaven. The thing that's interesting is the Temple Mount, the temple in East Jerusalem. Effectively, many Jewish people believe that nobody should go there, no Jews should go there until God builds a new temple himself. However, some Jewish people disagree with that and have been visiting there. As far as I am concerned, the idea that a group of Jewish people, however orthodox or however off the wall they appear to be, walking into the temple that their great-great-great-great-grandfathers built is justification for firing 5,000 rockets at civilians is simply grotesque and offensive. And I have to say, what was said earlier by, I think his name was Richard Hecht, Lieutenant Colonel Richard Hecht, when he said that they would kill every single person that has made the incursion into Israel, I have to say, I have a great deal of sympathy with that. I obviously would encourage the IDF to support the Geneva Convention, so anybody who surrenders. But when you have people coming in like this, murdering civilians, it is just, I have to say, absolutely despicable. And the religious justification is that, in addition to Muslims praying at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Jews attempted to do it as well. I do not accept that as justification, Ken.
Andre, I agree with a lot of what you said there. There's lots of things you talk about there. But let me just leave you with this final point, and thank you for the time. What is happening here is we are headed towards the Battle of Armageddon. It's in Revelation chapter 16. And this is the time when Jesus Christ will return. We don't know the day or the hour, but what's going to happen in the future is that what the armies of the world, due to hatred of the Jew, hatred of Israel, are going to flood into Israel and take a siege against Jerusalem, and that will trigger the return of Jesus the Messiah. And Messiah returns to defend Israel and destroy all the armies of the world who are gathered against his people, because Jesus the Messiah is the King of Israel, and he's coming to establish.
Okay, Ken, thank you so much. Let's hope it doesn't happen in the next couple of weeks.
I'll tell you what, it's not good news. It's up to 150 people now that have been killed. I think there will be. I think, Andrew, there will be serious questions by the intelligence services.
You're absolutely right. And I think what's abhorrent are some of the images that are coming out of some of the videos. And as soon as you personify it, salt it a minute, because they're not all verified. We have to always understand. It's always that. I always say question everything. But the reality is, behind every one of these stories, there are individuals, and it's about personality. We get numb to statistics.
And the thing is, in no concept in any situation should people suffer. This is just awful.
What about the argument that I personally do not believe, because I will always say what my bent is with this. My family are from Northern Ireland, and I personally believe that all sides in Northern Ireland have done phenomenally well to come together. I don't personally, my mother was an Irish Republican because she was an Irish Catholic from Belfast. I personally am a unionist. I don't believe either of us believed you should be killing each other over it. But is there an argument that justifies this? And I don't believe in this argument, but is there an argument that justifies this incursion on the basis that the Gaza Strip continues to be an incredibly hellish place to live?
I think it's very, very sad, and I think what you need to do is get both sides and talk it sensibly. I always believe, I know it's a phrase you don't like, but it's jaw, not war. It's not my phrase. But the reality is, going around killing people and the horrendous stuff that we see is not right. You're right, we can make arguments on both sides. My job's as a lawyer, I can make arguments for anything.
Yes.
But the reality
is... And with any argument, what you have to understand is there's two sides to every single argument.
And let's have those discussions with respect, bearing in mind the tremendous history that's there and the sensitivities on both sides. And let's make sure, I always say, let's put more light and less heat on these situations and work on that basis.
There is a very famous academic called Avi Shlaim.
Yes.
He's the only person ever to have become a professor at Hebrew University, having failed his PhD.
There you go.
And the reason he failed it was he wrote a book called The Iron Wall. And what he effectively said was that one of the big problems they have in the Middle East is that Jewish people from Europe were traumatised by the Holocaust and wanted to create what he called Eretz, which is the Iron Wall Israel, which is basically we will no longer trust non-Jewish people to protect our security. Well, of course, the problem is now you go to a multicultural, multi-ethnic place like Palestine and you create Iron Wall Israel, and of course what it does is it causes significant ethnic tensions in the area. Now, I have to say to you, I agree with Avi Shlaim on the basis that, yes, there is no doubt that under the Ottomans, the whole of this place was very multicultural and whatever. Now most Jewish people in the Middle East live in Israel, and indeed Palestinians have left Israel. But at the same time, given that's happened, the solution now is not to abolish the state of Israel. The solution is to say mistakes were made in the past. There has been a degree of ethnic cleansing on both sides, but now we are where we are. Let's have some sort of peaceful solution. If you look at what happened between Israel and Egypt, the demilitarisation of the Sinai led to that territory being given back.
Well, the other thing we need to do in the media is actually shine a spotlight on some of the things that are not being reported. And there's some atrocities that people are sending direct feeds, and I'm on all sorts of different groups trying to get balance in these sort of things. Some atrocities are not being reported. And I think what we need to do is to say, let's have a look at this, have sensible discussions if we can, but be really, really sensitive about the both sides.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, because I think if people feel that they're not being represented, that just makes people angrier and angrier.
And work out why things are not being reported.
Exactly.
That's what we need to look at.
I think the other thing is, and I will say this as a genuine point, the practice by Hamas of putting their fighters and their military infrastructure inside things like schools and hospitals is absolutely deplorable. And unfortunately, it leaves us in the position, which has happened many times, where missile and airstrikes take place on facilities that were deliberately there will be civilian casualties in order.
So what we need to do is to shine a spotlight on those, have a really detailed discussion, make sure that both sides are represented, and talk about those stories that we're hearing about, which are not being reported.
Now, Andrew, you're going to love the thing we've got out after the break.
Go on, then.
Because we've got a guy on who has sued the Conciliation Service, ACAS,
I know about this. Amazing.
for not being conciliatory.
Sean Corby, I know, absolutely.
We've got Sean Corby. Honestly, they're the Conciliation Service.
You couldn't make it up.
Anyway, he sued them over Black Lives Matter. We're going to be meeting him straight after this.
Simply Business knows business insurance can be a
pain in the glass. If you need any kind of glazing repair, you can
get stuffed. Perfect after a big night when you just want to
hell up and die. Hop into my salon if you're looking
rough around the edges.
Simply Business. You name it, we insure it.
Are you a super saver? Welcome to the Super Save Club from Money Supermarket. Earn rewards when you save with us to spend however you want. Savings supercharged. Join now.
Thank you, music, for allowing me to take my stories and help people that have gone through these same things as me.
We've just been brought a gift into the studio.
Put it down.
And Andre is having a little bit of a mature moment, shall we say. Are you on the menopause?
You were talking about the menopause.
I know. We're talking about that in a bit, by the way.
As you get older, your testosterone drops.
Oh, look, don't let him tell you. I'll tell you.
You get more lazy and fat.
More lazy and more fat.
Please say that's happened already to me.
No, it's happening, and it's happening slowly. It doesn't happen in the same way it happens for a woman.
Well, you reckon I'm going to get more lazy and more fat?
No,
I think that's almost impossible.
It's already. What I'm saying, he's already started. Is what I'm saying.
It's going to be good.
Right, the next bit I've genuinely been looking forward to introducing because the Conciliation Service ACAS, whose job it is to get sides together before they go to employment tribunals, has been taken to an employment tribunal itself, where it has lost against one of its employees, Sean Corby, who tweeted some things in opposition to Black Lives Matter. And effectively what the Conciliation Service said was that he had to take those tweets down. He felt that he was being discriminated against because he said that he was not opposing the rights of black people to be treated equally, but rather opposing an organisation that he felt had gone far too far in a number of ways. And so they said that he had to take down the tweets, and he decided not to. An employment tribunal has decided that his view, which is technically described as opposing critical race theory, is now protected under the Equalities Act. Sean joins us now. Sean, interesting to hear that the Conciliation Service wasn't very conciliatory.
Hello, good evening, Andre. Hi everybody. Thank you for inviting me on. What actually happened was that on our intranet, which is like an internal organisation chat board, etc., kind of like an internal Facebook, where we knew bulletins and other things like that, sharing of information. For quite a while now, there'd been a lot of information put up there that was very pro-critical race theory, pro-Black Lives Matter. And I saw this ever since 2020 when the George Floyd thing happened.
Yeah.
And I posted up some articles. It wasn't tweets, it was articles in the diversity and inclusion section of Yammer, that intranet notice board.
Oh, so it wasn't even public?
No, it was internal. It was internal. And the article, so the articles that I put up there were mostly by black thinkers, like Inaya Falari Iman, Aisha Akambi, and I put a link to a biog of Howard Thurman, who was Martin Luther King's spiritual and intellectual mentor in many ways, right? Now, apparently, 4 members of the London team made a complaint, and I was instructed to take these posts down, which I immediately complied with, but wasn't given any reason really why. It went to a grievance. And when I was shown the complaint by the 4 London members of staff, who, by the way, didn't know anything about me, had never met me, they requested bodyguards because they claimed to be so unsafe by my house.
By the way, Sean,
Is that true,
Sean, just to be clear, they assumed that you were some crazed white guy, didn't they? Is that what you're implying?
The statement that they wrote, these 4 people, four colleagues, they wrote a statement. Now, I can sincerely say that having read it, all I can describe it as being is unhinged, right?
Really?
They claimed that I had a deep-seated hatred for black people. They said that I was a racist. They said that I was a danger to the black colleagues in the office that I work with in Leeds, there in London. And they basically wanted me out of there. They wanted me tarnished as being a racist and kicked out. Now, one of the really disturbing things for me also is that one of them is very senior in the PCS union. She's a self-proclaimed ethnocentric activist. She appeared on the front page of the Morning Star communist newspaper last year. She writes for The Guardian. She calls herself an artist. Somebody that you'd think would have some kind of intelligence to realise that what I've posted, the ideas that I'm promoting, are actually truly conciliatory and certainly not those of a racist.
Well, I followed your story, Sean, because I think it's fantastic, and I truly believe, and I think our Talk TV viewers believe and understand the importance of free speech and the problems that do arise from telling people what they can and can't say. It's obvious views should be criticised, not silenced, shouldn't they? Should be allowed to have your opinion. However, I love your story, and I love the fact that that person bit off well more than she could chew, didn't she?
Well, yeah, and it's nice to hear your northern accents. I'm a Huddersfield lad.
Hurrah, hurrah.
I'm from Manchester. We're good as northerners. We can't get to London very fast on HS2, but
and not cheaply either.
Oh, do shut up, Danielle. Right, come on. Sean, no, let Sean speak. Come on, Sean.
No, you're quite right that views need to be challenged. I want my own views to be challenged. I didn't seek to silence them. I've never sought to silence anybody there about any views that they expressed. I've actually challenged them and would like to engage in dialogue with them. And if there's something that I need to rethink, then I will do. You know, we don't think the same things all our lives, and we gather information. But they did bite off more than they can chew, because I really deeply believe that what they've done is wrong. And
may I ask something, Sean? Now that you've got your victory, have the people that were criticising you had a chance to respond to that victory?
Well, the victory is not there yet, okay? Because what's happened was that the Employment Tribunal in Leeds was meant to be for 4 days, and it was meant to be the discrimination and harassment claim that I brought against AFFS. Now, on the first day, the judge announced that I'd have to satisfy the Granger test, which is the legal framework for assessing whether somebody has a deeply held philosophical belief, and therefore that they're protected under the Equalities Act. So I had to undergo some very intense cross-examination to prove that the ideas that I was sharing weren't just views and opinions. That's the legal framework under which...
No, that's absolutely... So can I just clarify then, because for legal reasons, is the case still going on?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay,
so,
then I think we have to be very careful about that sort of side, yes?
Yeah.
So we reconvened.
Andrew, how careful do we have to be?
Well, very. It's exactly the word, very. So that's why I think in the interest of balance, it's very interesting to hear your side of it. We should obviously hear the other side if there's a case we don't want to affect those proceedings. And when those proceedings come to a relevant judgment, what I would make is a
actually, Andrew, can I jump in here? Because here's the thing that Sean has raised. So forget the case for a second, because I think
that's important. We have to.
I'm just
generalities.
I'm segueing in that direction.
Good.
Don't worry.
Thank goodness I'm here.
We missed something in this form, but okay. No, to talk in general, what is interesting about this Granger test is something I didn't know about. So I can get into trouble for debating a point if it's not my heartfelt view. So, as an example, we were talking earlier about Israel and Palestine.
Yes.
You know, somebody could have a go at me for saying what I said about that, and my only defence would be I had a heartfelt view, which I don't. I'm literally just debating the subject. That is not free speech, is it?
Well, I think there's a balance, isn't there? And the balance is this. You can talk about generalities, but you don't want to prejudice. This is the laws in this country. You don't want to prejudice any ongoing trials. So we're talking about generalities. You can look at this is what happens. And I find some of these things shocking. So I talked last time about the alumni for free speech who did a freedom of information request to about 50 universities about how much they're spending on equality, diversity and inclusion, as opposed to freedom of speech, which again is a right under the Human Rights Act and so on and so forth. And it turned out that they're spending 220 times as much on equality, diversity and inclusion as they are spending on freedom of speech.
Wow.
And I think that's an issue that we need to look at. But I always say it's freedom of speech, but not freedom from consequences.
No.
So we don't want to dig into, on this particular case, the rights and wrongs of this particular case, because that will be decided by the tribunal and let them go through that process. What we can talk about are the generalities, which we've touched on.
Day-to-day life,
but in general, and I'll say this to both of you, but perhaps to Sean first, I just feel like we've got a very small number of people across the board who have decided that they don't like free speech and they're going to abolish it. But I don't see the House of Commons, the House of Lords, the government deciding any of this. I feel it's just been independently decided by people. And I think there was a letter by various people who were senior in the civil service to the Cabinet Secretary a couple of weeks ago saying that, you know, this whole idea of the trans narrative has now become the established rules. It doesn't matter what is decided democratically. It doesn't matter what the government or Parliament says. And Sean, I just feel like that's the position we're in. This is law that has been made up by people and it enforced across the piece in a way that's just really hard to work out how it ever came about.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it referred to as the tyranny of the minority. You know, there's a lot of people, a small number of people that are really seeking to obfuscate others and silence others. And, you know, I agree that there's a balance here. There's two sides to the story. But some people seem to, at the early days of this case, thought that I might have said something kind of borderline, and therefore they've come at me, and then I've had to explain myself. That is not the case. As you may have read, now I didn't lead with this. When I went to the Free Speech Union, who've been absolutely magnificent in supporting me, and without them, I don't know what would happen to me. I'd have been in a really bad way, right? And you know, this organisation and these four characters, one of whom is pretty influential, they would have crushed me.
Yeah.
But when I spoke to the Free Speech Union, told them what had happened, I spoke to the guy, Fraser Houghton, for the first 20 minutes, explained. And then I said, look, I don't like to lead by this because I think it's a bit crass, but you do need to know. And I told him about my family background. I'm married to a black woman of Jamaican descent. I've got two children, two sons who are of what people would say a mixed race.
Yep.
I grew up in a very mixed ethnic environment, around a lot of people socially, culturally. I was a jazz musician. I've been a professional musician touring with many great Jamaican artists, and I've dedicated my life in many ways to education, opportunities for working class people and for people from all backgrounds. So I am not that guy that these people...
Yeah, that they kind of assumed you were. Sean, I think a big assumption was made. Sean, I'm so sorry that we're going to have to say goodbye, but keep going. You're doing amazing, and thank you very much.
I'm just gonna get another plug in, and I'm being genuine about this. I'm a member of the Free Speech Union. You should join as well. Effectively, what they will do is, if you get into trouble at work, or if there's an internet pylon, or people attack you, then they will support you with paying your legal fees and bring in a team to defend you. I'll tell you what. Oh no, believe me, it's been worth me joining. It's been worth me joining. Anyway, talking of other organisations that I've joined, I recently joined Just Stop Oil. Take it away. Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Come on, where are the cars?
I think you should stop protesting.
What do you think of Just Stop Oil?
I don't know.
I'm gluing my hand. Gluing the hand. Gluing the hand. Gluing the hand. What, like, Texas is a big oil drilling place. Do you think that Britain should be better at oil drilling and become more like Texas?
I think that they should have way more horses, way more cowboys. At least
we've got more Texans.
Yeah.
Do you love oil in Texas?
Yes.
What is the best thing about oil?
It makes my car go faster.
Just Stop Oil is a British protest group which sits in the middle of roads to stop people producing oil. Do you think that's good or bad?
That sounds good to me.
Why is it so good then?
Well, aren't we trying to save the planet a little bit?
Just stop oil! Just stop oil! Just stop! Ah, don't touch! How are you, big man?
Very good. How are you?
What do you think of Just Stop Oil?
That's fantastic. It's my favourite oil.
Look, you were really, really annoyed when you thought I was genuinely Just Stop Oil. Why was that?
Because everyone does really care about the cause, but we've got to earn money, we've got to, have a living, and they need to do things that's going to earn respect. This is just making an enemy of them.
I'll swap you T-shirt for hat. Come on, come on, come on. Do you have any idea who I am or what you're doing? Do you think British TV's a bit different to American TV?
Yes.
Good God, you love that, don't you? People have been complaining about your chest, but I think mine's worse.
It's the way
yours is a pretty sight.
I'm just used to it now. I'm used to the complaints.
Yeah.
I get worried when I've not got them.
Well, look. I'm really, really excited about this next guest. Actually, do you know what? This has been a great show so far. They're normally a bit average, if I'm being honest.
You are cheeky. This is just a good time to tell you that we're actually going to move to a later slot next week. So if you enjoy watching Andre and myself, then remember to tune in at 11 o'clock next week because we're doing a live phone-in. So if you've ever wanted to get through and make your point and not quite been able to, or make a complaint about my chest, then you can do that. You can do that on the air at 11 o'clock.
So from next week, we're going to be filling Lizzie's slot rather than doing our own.
Oh,
what I love is the watershed past the watershed at 11 o'clock.
Well,
so it'll be
exactly.
even more exciting.
So in theory,
it's going to be good.
we can be a little bit more juicy.
I think it's impossible to be more juicy than you currently are. But
okay, look, I've really been looking forward to having this guest in the studio.
Yes.
We've spoken to him a fair number of times, but there have been climate protests once again this week. And no, actually, do you know something? I love my producers to bits, but that actually is wrongly written. These aren't protests. These are just attempts to harass and disrupt people. I have no problem with people standing out with placards and talking about their issues, but the idea of just deliberately disrupting people for no greater purpose than your own arrogance and selfishness. Anyway, I think we've got the pictures of what Just Stop Oil did this week to Les Miserables. Let's take a look.
Have we got the clip?
Doesn't matter if...
So basically...
Here it is.
So we're basically crescendo of Les Mis.
I love the bit where the old lady goes, "Oh, you're awful people, dreadful.
You rotters, get off the stage,
you know what?
scoundrels."
You're getting the view there from the most expensive seats.
You are.
That's why. So you've got the ew. But believe me, when I would be watching it, which would probably be in the gods, you would be going, "Oi, get off the stage."
But clearly they bought lots of tickets to sit in those expensive seats to film it.
Well,
so they knew this was coming.
They knew, didn't they?
Yeah. So look, I've wanted you on in the studio for a long time. Don't look at me like that.
Don't act surprised.
All right. I didn't want him here.
I'm waiting for the 16-ton weight.
It's Brian Katz, who is a physicist and engineer.
Hey, welcome, Brian.
Somebody who's been really castigated for offering an alternative view on climate change. Look, we can discuss climate change itself, but I'd love to start much more with the difficulty we have now in having scientific debates. Because I think I said to you the other day on the radio show, pretty much everything that Aristotle said has now been proved to be wrong. But that's the way you develop science. And nobody would say that Aristotle was evil or wrong, or so bad for being wrong. Anyway, Brian, take it away.
Well, I'll give you Feynman's quote that I gave you the other day, that he didn't mind because that is the basis of science. And Freeman Dyson said the same thing, who was his mathematician. I don't mind not knowing things because that's the job of being a scientist.
Yes.
What worries me, I don't mind questions that can't be answered. What I don't like is answers that can't be questioned, because as soon as you come across an answer that can't be questioned, then you know there's something fishy about it.
Can I ask you, why do you think, because I see this, it feels a lot, that we now live in a society where once we are told something, we are not allowed to question it at all. In fact, you are criticised, you're penalised. Why are we not allowed? What's happened? Because surely we should be curious.
I recommend you to the works or the speeches of James Lindsay about cultural Marxism. And basically it's how you control a population by spreading a particular belief which you are required to have, otherwise you are a bad person.
Yeah.
And that allows them then to pass laws to enact things in the name of whatever it is they say is the case. Cognitive dissonance, it's abusive behaviour as well. It's the principle of abusive behaviour.
I was listening to Theresa May.
I wasn't expecting to say that. Sorry.
He says crazy things.
I was listening to an interview with Theresa May, and she said a lot of the problems that have come up in our society today is that in 1990, when the Soviet Union collapsed, people believed it was the end of history. Yes. They thought, now, the world is now free. We are now open to everything. Nobody considered the possibility that there are still going to be dark forces in the world. And I just wonder whether we now have this view that things are settled, aren't they? We now understand science. We now understand nature. We now understand
and it's actually worse than that, isn't it? Because what's happened now is that everybody's become an expert, and all of a sudden, exactly, everybody's a virologist. It was Barack Obama who said, "I don't agree that when you become students at college, you have to be coddled and protected from different points of view." Yep. We're living in a very diseased information age where we're drowning in information. Most of which is false. Is that fair?
Yes, and this is the technique of religion and cult. It's not the technique of a free society where you can debate things, and it's basically not the best for the most. It's the opposite.
Do you think Just Stop Oil's a cult?
Sorry, Andrew, just let me say this. One of the things that shocked me about this idea of climate change, and forget the science of it for a second, which we can talk about. We've got up until 8 o'clock to talk
tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Yeah.
That happened last time.
But you look at it and the sort of the criticisms the Protestants made of my faith, the Catholics. You've got this priestly class, these scientists who can't be questioned, and then you've got this idea of worshipping the earth, the priests of it, if you like, the climate change. And then, lo and behold, a child is sent to take away the sins of the world in Greta Thunberg. And you think, it's unbelievable. It's a pagan version of Christianity.
It's a 21st century religion, is another way of... Polish people, I gave a talk to a group of Poles from the London... what's the school called? Oratory.
Yes.
And that was organised by their chemistry teacher, who's now retired. And he asked me if I would do more of the politics than I would have done before, which goes back to 1960 and Rockefeller and Strong and people. And I said, why? These are young people. They're not going to believe any of this. He said, no, they're really interested. And I'm really interested because I came here from Poland because I was fed up with communism and being told what to think. I now live in a country which is worse than the Poland I left.
Really? Is that what he said?
But Brian, here is the shocker for me. Here is the shocker for me. It's now the young people who are protesting against freedom.
Yes, they're completely... Well, it's useful idiots. That's what the Russians called them.
But normally it would be people... I mean, in our generation, i.e. older people... I'm not saying you're the same age as me, Brian. No disrespect, pal.
He's much younger than you.
I will be honest, I have found the older generation much easier to debate with than a younger generation of people. They're very stuck in the ways.
You look at Hong Kong. We are considering sending basically the lawyers and the government in to force free speech in universities. In Hong Kong, they're trying to shut it down, the government.
Yeah. It is not a free society that you live in, and the whole business of having all these beliefs is exactly so that you can do what you're talking about, so that you can have control, you can arrest people for hate thought or whatever next. It's Big Brother.
Can we chat some more? Will you stick around, because this is absolutely fascinating. I know you've got a lot more to say, Brian.
Can't get me away from a microphone.
No. Yeah, we're just going to take a quick break and we'll be back in just a sec.
give evidence to the grand jury.
I'm the only one that has been telling the truth.
You don't drink, never taken drugs. You're stinking rich. Should we be concerned, Prime Minister?
If it's on your mind, it's on Talk TV.
It's about you and your opinions.
If you're thinking about it, we're talking about it.
It's all about me. That was a joke.
Hello, welcome back to Talk Radio, Talk TV. I'm Danielle Nicholls and this is Andre Walker, and he's got a very... What's happened? You've not had a stroke, have you, or anything? Don't frighten me like that live on air.
No, I'm sorry.
I might have to do CPR then.
I'm sorry. It was almost like when they kicked, what was it, Bishop Brennan in Father Ted. So, Brian, you're a DJ.
I was.
I love the photo. We probably can't get it closer.
My late sister did the flyer for that.
Pussyfoot discotheque.
With lights and girls. You had to pay, had to get the girls in.
You got the girls as well, did you?
I've even got,
Brian.
those of you who are old enough to remember these things, that is a genuine Eel Pie membership card.
Oh, we love Eel Pie. They're fantastic.
The Ricky Tick Club.
The Ricky Tick was in Windsor, but Eel Pie was
on the island.
The place. That's
why I know it, because I lived in Windsor. Okay, so Brian, look, we didn't have a massive amount of time to talk to you before the break, but why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your views on climate change and indeed some of your views on Just Stop Oil?
Right. Well, Just Stop Oil, the only thing I can say about it, they don't know what they're talking about, and it's just a way to try and make themselves significant, and what they do is hijack other people's lives to do it. They could never form, as I think Jacob Rees-Mogg said, they could never form a political party on their own, so they go and hijack everybody else's funds. So I've no time for them. If you took away oil, they wouldn't be wearing any clothes. It probably might be a good thing, and then we can tar and feather them and chuck them back in somewhere.
I've got to be honest with you, no, it's never the attractive ones. You don't want them naked. But anyway.
I've been on with Just Stop Oil, actually. It wasn't a hard confrontation because they have no idea what they're talking about.
But what about, Brian, the fact that they want to make a difference, they're campaigning for something that they believe in?
I don't think... I don't know.
So I'm just trying to be generous.
Sorry.
Yes.
They do not have the necessary, what we call formation in engineering and physics. They don't have the formation to actually make a decision as to whether they believe anything or not. All they can do is believe what they're told. And that is the problem with the whole of the subject we're discussing.
So we all deplore their tactics.
Yeah.
Let's attack them on the science, because I think the facts are helpful, aren't they?
Let's do the science.
Let's do the
science.
Because I think exactly. So let's talk about this. They're saying it's bad for the climate. We should stop oil because they're very worthy. And I understand you said it was a cult earlier.
It is.
Let's deal with that. What do you think is the relevant aspect?
Sorry, just let me address the fact that Mark is really trying. Mark is really trying to sneak around the studio to give us a cup of water. One job, Mark. We got his full nozzy, his whole nose inch.
Cheers. Thank you very much. That's my one.
It looked like he was trying to sniff Brian. I don't know. Sorry. Don't spit you. Oh, no.
Don't worry, Mum. It's going to be sore.
It's like a room full of babies, isn't it? Oh, my word. Don't do it again, Mark.
Back again. Sorry, guys.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark. Mark looks after everybody. That's what Mark does.
Retiring Mark is good.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry, so the science.
Let's get back to a really important point. So we deplore the tactics that Just Stop Oil use. Everybody would say it's crazy. Stop it. They will say that the reason they're doing this, and we've had people in tears several times saying the planet's going to be destroyed if they don't take action, then the humanity won't survive. Tell us why. Tell us why that is wrong.
Well,
all right.
It's very simple. They don't have any facts.
So give us some.
I'll tell you what I saw in the other place, as we call it, the other TV station. Somebody said about the temperature going up, but they go, people are dying from the temperature, and then they went.
They're very emotional about it.
But this was a bit. This was a bit that shocked me when they went. They said, how is it that if you get a bit hotter, you will die? And they said, do you not understand that at 40 degrees, sweat boils on your skin and will kill you? The idea that water boils at 40 degrees is something that your average primary school child could tell you is nonsense.
But not most A-level students now.
No, you're right. But in the interest of balance, let's just do this, because everybody humiliates Just Stop Oil. We deplore their taxes, we say their things. They come up, they're passionate about what they believe in. What I think is really helpful in this discussion is going back to the facts and the science. So Are they? What are they saying? And what is your view on what they're saying?
What they're saying is basically to do with what models are predicting. Now, the models are not proven science. None of the IPCC predictions are from proven science. The models that they made were designed in 1980 when we didn't know an awful lot about climate. So they're very questionable, and they actually omitted to put in one or two rather important things, like there's no natural change according to them, when in fact we now know that there's a 2 degree poles, 1 degree at the equator cycle of about 1,000 years.
So
it goes up and down all the time naturally.
Can I say this to you, because funnily enough, you pulled me up on something the other day.
Did I?
So there was a report that said.
Can I just say, though, very quickly, there are some scientists that do disagree with what you're saying, and on the benefit of keeping things balanced, in the show we are going to have someone from Just Stop Oil on the show able to defend themselves, because in the nature of what we do here at Talk TV, we're giving both sides of the story.
You disagreed with me on something, because I asked you a question about, there's a guy who says that now it's possible that the reason for the increase in CO2 in the atmosphere is because of a natural increase in temperature, which is the Earth is warming up and therefore the seas release CO2. And you said that bloke was wrong as well, because actually we now know for definite that man-made carbon dioxide is a huge contributor to the increase in carbon dioxide. So the point I'm making is that you're pretty balanced, actually, in a way that people make you out to be an extremist.
What you've got, now you've come to the God concept.
Right.
The God concept, which is not proven at all, is... Sorry. I thought he was coming on to me now. I need to be nearer to the microphone.
Okay.
The God concept is that CO2 is a significant causer of temperature change. It is not. There is no evidence to suggest that. The only thing that you can prove quite definitely that carbon dioxide does is make agriculture much more productive, green the planet by about 30% since this problem is supposed to have started, and it's made the margins of the desert more productive.
I see, because obviously plants want the carbon dioxide.
And the photosynthesis works much better.
But Brian, what they are saying is the temperature of the Earth is rising and carbon dioxide is rising. Now, I've said to you before...
So they're relating those when they aren't necessarily
I've said to you the next fact.
I've said to you before today, look, the Ice Age was defrosted by global warming. There were no 2.5 litre Volvos at the time, but it was defrosted by global warming.
12 degrees colder then.
So to deal with the fact then. So
now there's a little ice age which nobody should confuse. There's a thing called the ice age which is 12 degrees colder. Let's do the polar temperatures. 12 degrees colder. In 7,000 years it goes up about 10 to 12 degrees and you get an interglacial, and that's where we are now. And then it stays at this temperature, and then we get to the stage about 3,000 years ago where it starts to cool back down again, which is what it's been doing.
So that's cyclical.
It's going up, and those are called the Milankovitch cycle. There's 3 Milankovitch cycles. Don't worry about it; it's too complicated to talk about now. But I can write
details of that. Yes.
The point about it is, there's also another cycle, which is a 1,000-year cycle, of which there are hundreds of papers. There's 42 of them on this particular picture here, which say that it goes up and down about a degree, or at the equator 2 degrees at the poles every 1,000 years. That's completely denied in the models. Now, if you take that out of what the models are looking at, they haven't got anything to account for, pretty much.
Okay. Can I ask one question then? Really simple question. To what extent has humanity contributed to the increase in temperature?
Well, they probably have, but it's so small, a fraction of a degree.
So there's been a contribution, but it's a question of quantum. So that's the disagreement, is it? So
the sensitivity, it's called.
Okay. So the interesting... Okay, I'll move you closer.
Hello, microphone.
But I think that's really helpful, because none of us are scientists.
No.
And so this is what we say. You say that humanity has contributed to the increase in temperature, but what you're saying, it's insignificant. Is that right? Is that a fair summary?
If you check some of those scientists, what I gave Andre, they will tell you... we've lost them now. Oh. They will tell you exactly...
We've got them.
Oh, yes, sorry. So you wanted us to put this sign up to say about some of the scientists that people, if they want to do some further reading, can read. So let's read them out. Clintel, William Happer, Willie Soon, Richard Lindzen, John Christie, Judith Curry,
and Motaka Nakamura.
And that's what Clintel say.
Okay.
So can I ask this? Why do you
So they're saying there is no climate emergency. So this is very interesting, because the way I see it is, if we are running out of resources and we are cutting down rainforests and we are destroying... No, if we are doing that and destroying the environment we live in, we should have respect for the environment that we live in, right? That goes without saying. You should respect the place you live. You don't move into an area, completely destroy it and move out. Yeah. You should work with the area. And so the idea that we find different ways to fuel our cars, or that is all, for me, absolutely progress. Things change. There's better ways to heat our homes, things like that. Yes. This is how we should be thinking, not everyone's screaming with a sandwich board going, the end of the world is nigh.
Yeah, well, what you should do is actually allow people to buy what works best for them. And that's the beginning and end of it. One of the most important things about this debate, which is never... Where is most plastic in the world? Where is all the plastic crisis coming from in the world? 3 rivers in Asia where they're poor. Because they don't have waste collection.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, Brian, we're going to have to leave it there, but...
Oh, Brian, you're amazing.
Brian, we're going to bring you on again. Last time you were on, I kept you till about midnight, didn't I?
Right? 12:30.
12:30. Okay, what's coming up next, Danielle?
Oh, I don't know. You've threw me. More stuff, same stuff. It's going to be great. We're talking about why you need to be supervised brushing your own teeth nowadays. Welcome back to Talk Radio, Talk TV. I'm Danielle Nicholls. This is Andre Walker, and I meant to say at the top of the show, and I forgot, a hi to Paul, who was my Uber driver this morning, who listens to Talk Radio and lives in Manchester, and he's just a generally cool guy. Cool. Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for being a listener.
Now, listen, would you do a master's degree in magic? Well, Exeter University has said that they are going to start a master's degree in magic, and there has been a significant amount of criticism about Mickey Mouse degrees. There have been things like degrees in golf and things like that, and people just wonder whether this is a worthwhile spend of taxpayers' money. Now, look, Andrew Eborn is our guest co-host. By the way, you have brought us these quality...
I brought chocolates. I thought, celebrate. Here we can celebrate the fact it's the start of the new studio. Hurrah!
Oh my goodness, she's going to... I didn't know what you was going to do.
There's not a dry seat in the house. It's got to be...
I think I might need to go to the loo.
What bothers me about Special Branch at the door, what bothers me about this is that the Quality Street tin used to be big enough for your mum's knitting kit.
You're right. It's what they call shrinkflation. They're now a lot tinier. They're in paper to be environmentally friendly and that sort of stuff.
That's not very festive,
but it was a nice principle. We've got a new studio, you've got a new schedule, you've got a lot of stuff.
I'll just check whether these are poisonous.
Yes, so remember, if you do enjoy us on your Saturday night, then from 11 o'clock next week, we will be doing a late night phone-in, and as it is later on in the evening, we have the rains have took off a little bit, so it should be quite interesting and good fun. So yeah, if you want to tune in, it's from 11 o'clock next week. But obviously, there's still loads on at this time. You can still watch.
So you're in the magic circle.
I remember the Magic Circle. Now, the Magic Circle has about 1,500 members around the world.
My good friend Stephen Mulhern.
Stephen Mulhern is a great member. David Copperfield. All the great names that you can imagine.
Well, you know Stephen Mulhern.
Amazing. Did you do CITV together?
Yes, I did.
I used to do the warm-ups.
We used to do stuff together.
I love it. It's the reunion, and Chuck did some stuff.
He did CITV reunion. We are.
Nobody knows who Chuck is.
Chuck is the producer.
Knows who Chuck is. Watch the videos because they are brilliant. 1905, when the Magic Circle was formed, and there's a couple of things that are brilliant about this, is we have members from all around the world. The King Charles, is a member of the Magic Circle.
Really?
And he did the cups and balls.
Can I just say, though, Stephen I used to make fun of it. I'll be honest. I didn't know much about it, and he'd say, some a member of the Magic Circle. I'd be like, so what? But he took it so seriously. And he would literally check things with them that he could say and what he could...
And one of the things is we don't disclose secrets, but it's all about that sort of stuff and preserving the heritage. We have a fantastic world-class museum that people can come and have a look at. And we have got great members around the world from every single profession. So Nigel Mansell, the Formula One driver, is a member of the Magic Circle.
But don't you have to demonstrate competence in magic to join?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a very strict exam. They all have to pass. I've been an examiner for a number of years. There are different degrees.
I want to do it.
Well, you should do it. Well, we would have a look because it's brilliant, and we also use for charitable purposes. So
I'll just put it this way. I am absolutely rubbish at it, and Stephen tried to teach me a trick, and I'm clearly... This is why I never played the piano. I'm obviously no good with my very short fingers.
But it's a great way of getting dexterous, and it's a great way of helping people to communicate. So
I couldn't do all that. I'll tell you what I could do.
Can you not do that?
I'll tell you what I could do. I could do the stage magic stuff, because I particularly love the magic tricks that are associated with teleporting people around the rooms and buildings.
And that's the new solution for the HS2. So to finish Manchester, we can transport them by magic. That's
there we go.
One of my favourite tricks, and you can get it actually online, is Martin Daniels doing on Penn and Teller where he teleports.
Oh, but brilliant. Isn't that fantastic stuff?
Yes.
But this particular course, I have to say, spoiler alert, they're doing this university course on magic. It's not that type of magic. What it is, it's all about the history and sort of folklore. So students, I've got a little list here. They've got the options to take modules on dragons in Western literature and art. The legend of King Arthur.
What you're telling us is the degree in magic talks about the history of magic, but doesn't teach you any magic
It's all
tricks.
about that sort of stuff, all about the magic and witchcraft and that. So it's not useless. It's a fascinating insight into that sort of stuff.
But you don't want to do a magic course and then someone goes, show us a card trick, and you go, well, I can't, but I'll tell you all about dragons.
Well, that might be it. So it's as much about history and the history of
magic.
But
it reminds me actually where somebody did a doctorate on Madonna.
Yes.
And when you actually read it in seriousness, what he had done is he'd done a PhD on modern marketing in the music industry, using Madonna as a case study, which made more sense,
as opposed to the Mother of Christ or something like that. Which is so you're working on that sort of basis.
He was doing the cone twist.
It could go so horribly wrong on that sort of thing. But all of this is to do, the University of Exeter, to their credit, and they've got about 100 people who've applied, are basically doing this course to say, let's talk about the history of witchcraft, let's talk about that sort of stuff, let's talk about paganism.
You've sold it,
I'm on commission, I'm not on that.
No, but
the Magic Circle is separate and different.
No, on a serious note, I have to ask. You know, there is a government subsidy associated with all of these things, and you know, I'll give you an example in the industry that we're in here.
Yes,
if every single person who works as a television or radio producer in this country was fired tomorrow, then in 1 year of graduation of media studies degrees, they would have twice as many people as they need.
No, and I think there's lots of things, and there's tremendous success stories of people who haven't gone on to university. Branson, Bernie Ecclestone with Formula One.
Danielle Nicholls. She's not been to university either.
The university.
I know, big name.
What qualifications have you got?
I'm not telling you because you're making fun of me.
But the university.
I'm old.
The University of
HND.
Life. University of Life is really important.
I bet you've got BTEC in dance.
Have you got dance?
Oh, you...
Is that true? Is
yes,
that true?
I have a BTEC in performing arts. Of course I do. I have all my GCSEs, and my teachers were angry I didn't take A levels, but I couldn't be bothered.
So I reckon between us, between me and Danielle, we've got 10 GCSEs, 4 A levels.
I've got 9 GCSEs.
Right,
Are you joking?
19 GCSEs, 4 A levels, right? A degree and a postgraduate certificate, and a BTEC in dance.
BTEC in performing arts.
I love it.
Darling.
I love it. But the great thing is, what all these university courses do, and people criticise a lot of them, they teach you how to think.
Yes.
And so what we would say to anybody, there is the University of Life, and there's a sort of snobbish thing about who went where and so on and so forth. It's irrelevant. What you're doing is do something you're really passionate about, because we sort of turn around and say, if you do something you really love, you'll never do it.
I say this to my kids. I'd agree with him. You're going to disagree. No, I've had this argument. I have had this argument before.
Yes?
I completely agree.
It's true.
Do what you love. Don't settle for second best. No plan B. Do what you love.
No, I genuinely beg you,
might be
if you are a young person,
tomorrow.
do not come out of university age 21 with £50,000 or £60,000 worth of debt and a master's degree in magic. It's not going to get you a better job. You know, on a serious note, people are living in real poverty in this country as a result of financing these student loans, and I think it's a bad idea.
And you're absolutely right. For some people, it's wrong to do. What university does is teach people how to think, and it teaches them how to communicate. And we need to look at different ways.
£40,000 I could pay you.
Well, you have an hour, basically.
I'm of the idea of I'm not anti-university because I think education should be available to everyone. What annoys me is that it feels like the more that we have to pay, it feels like the education starts to become just for the rich. This is where me and him are going to disagree. But I don't agree that everybody gets all these debt. I agree with Andre.
No, you're absolutely right. The financing is wrong, but university does more than just give you an academic education.
Come on, no,
it does. It prepares you for society. It gets you to talk to different people. And so on and so forth.
I went to Royal Holloway College at the University of London.
Brilliant university. Love the buildings.
And I spent 3 years on the lash. right? Realistically.
But let's be honest, wherever you'd have gone at that age, you would have spent 3 years on the
But
lash.
it taught you how to go on the lash with lots of people and how to deal with that sort of side of society.
Yeah, but it's slightly different.
We've got a caller.
No, sorry, I just want to finish this point.
Oh, okay, you can have an argument with Chuck afterwards.
You know, I spent, I didn't have to pay £9,000 a year for the privilege. And you have to remember something. Yes, I get the rite of passage element, but you've got, with the degree that I did, 8 hours a week, lectures, right?
No, I studied law and many other things, so we did millions of hours. I think we've got a caller. Should we
We
listen
have
to
got a caller, thank you
Caller,
very much.
welcome,
We've got
line
Anne
one,
from
welcome to the show.
Hertfordshire. Hi, Anne, how are you?
Hello, Anne.
Hi, good evening. You're talking about qualifications.
Yes.
And I'm really cross with Andre because he mocked the ladies' qualifications for dance. I have 12 sitting guilds,
well done.
9 A-levels, 10 GCSEs, and I'm very qualified. And I think a qualification in magic would be fantastic.
Well, let me respond to that.
Yes.
There's a slight sound problem, so I did hear most of it. Look, first of all, the reason I take the mick out of Danielle is because she's available. But actually,
what does that mean?
The reality,
what the?
Whoever was sat next to me, I'd take the mick out of.
You would, and we friends, and that's okay.
But on a serious note, look, I mean, clearly, if you're going to do the job that Danielle does, then having some sort of background in performing arts is helpful. There's no doubt about that. But what we are talking about at the same time is a vast number of people coming out of university with qualifications that are not going to help them make more money. You've got a lot of working class kids who will go to the University of God knows where to do a degree in underpant pulling up when they'd been better going and becoming a plumber or an electrician and making a decent step.
No, but the call is absolutely right.
But does it matter as long as they enjoy doing that degree?
You're absolutely brilliant point, because that's the reality. Do something you're passionate about, and if you can spark that sort of interest, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And not every degree needs to be vocational, does it?
No.
Okay, Anne, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
I think I would agree with you, Anne, if I could hear you, I think.
And we couldn't quite hear you. I got some of it, and basically what she was saying was that education for education's sake is a worthwhile thing.
Yes, absolutely. And she was saying that don't diminish the fantastic attributes that Danielle has.
Don't diminish a BTEC in performing.
So Anne was on my side, and I didn't hear any other caller.
Isn't that what I got?
Isn't that just fate?
But no, what she was saying, she said you were absolutely brilliant. You can have degrees in dance if you want to and everything else. It doesn't have to be vocational, and that's the point. Train the mind. Do you something you're passionate about.
Do you think that there is a slight problem, and I genuinely worry about this?
Yes.
Where John Major changed the polytechnics into being universities.
Yes.
Right, and actually, I understand why he did it. He said that vocational qualifications should be on the same level as academic qualifications. The problem is, in a lot of areas, these very good polytechnics have now become famous for being very bad universities.
And
I think that's deeply unfair.
You're absolutely right. You need to look at education around the world, where some places it's free to go to higher education. We pay $9,000. People say it's a lot. You go to America, you see how it's tens of thousands of pounds.
The big advantage, though, in America is quite often you can finance it. So if you go for a medical course, you find it the poor kids will find it very easy to get in because you can borrow the 100,000, 200,000 a year.
As you know, I'm a passionate advocate for meritocracy.
How do you ever pay that back?
Oh no, I mean it would vary on the course.
But what happens? It's a progression. So you'll be financed by a particular company to come into that job. So that's really helpful because you're guaranteed a job. The point is, and you know I talk around the world on artificial intelligence, Goldman Sachs had predicted that 300 million jobs are going to be lost to AI.
Yeah.
What we need to do is to train people with the right sort of skills. David Putnam, he said you've got to teach people coding for kids would be brilliant on that sort of basis. There you go.
Yeah,
so fantastic stuff. So look at those sort of principles. Also teaching people how to interact with other people so society is better. What I like about this show is we encourage people to talk. The more that we talk about AI and ChatGPT will write your scripts for you. If we can get people to present, the idea of being able to speak, all those sort of things will be really, really powerful. And there's some great people out there.
It was funny. We made a joke the other week about the fact that you got AI to write you a book, didn't you? And in the end, it was
No, I didn't. What I got AI to do was to tell me about me.
Yes.
So I typed in, write an an essay about Danielle Nicholls, and by the end of the essay, it was very clearly Holly Willoughby.
Oh, is that what
But I thought, I'll take that as a compliment, because somehow AI has confused me with Holly Willoughby. Like, she worked with Stephen Mulhern on CITV. Oh, got it all right for the first bit. Then the last bit was like, no, that's not me.
Well, it has these things called hallucinations, where, like a lot of politicians, if they don't know the answer, it will make it up.
That must be why then.
Oh, no, that's what happened. So it had a law professor, for example, and there's a case going on with a radio host in America which is suing the company behind ChatGPT because it said he was guilty of embezzlement. And it made the whole thing up. So there's a case going on at the moment.
Oh, that's not cool. You don't need anyone saying bad stuff about you, especially not a robot.
No, indeed. Well, the one that annoys me is when you have to prove to the robot you're not a robot.
Hey.
I mean, that drives me mad.
When you have to clear all those pictures so they can say what they are.
I'll tell you what's really funny. They did a research on that, and actually ChatGPT and these robots are better at doing... they're called
identifying
captures.
the motorbikes.
No, they're better at captures than a human. Isn't that amazing?
I had a friend, before we go to the break, I had a friend who told me about the company that was behind the original one of those, where it used to go, what is this word?
Yes.
And you know what? Half of it knew what the word was. The other half, it was actually scanning books from a library to digitalise them, and people were literally writing what the words were.
It is incredible. But I tell you, as I say, the AI is better at solving the capture than we are as humans.
Okay.
So it just shows.
Right, straight after the break, we're going to be talking to Extinction Rebellion.
Hooray!
I'm Mike Graham and this is Talk TV. You know what we're going to do now, don't you? It's Plank of the Week time. We do it every Friday night. It goes out at 7 p.m. and you don't want to miss it. Do you know why? Because it includes all of the people that you love to hate. It might even include some of the people that you love to love. It might be Harry and Meghan. It might be Sadiq Khan. It could be a football team. It could be the Prime Minister. It could be the leader of the opposition. It might even be someone up in Scotland. You never know. Watch us every Friday, 7 p.m.
Simply Business knows business insurance can be a
pain in the glass. If you need any kind of glazing repair,
You can get stuff. Perfect after a big night when you just want to...
Hell up and die. Pop into my salon if you're looking.
Rough around the edges.
Simply Business. You name it, we insure it.
Président. Time for the good life.
Jason has home serve cover to keep his home working, so he can relax, knowing his electrics, drains, plumbing, and boiler will be taken care of. Home serve. We're on our way.
He's back, and he's uncensored. Debating the breaking news and talking to the biggest names. Piers Morgan is live every week with a host of stars. Uncompromising, unmissable, and uncensored. And remember,
if you're thinking it, we're talking about it.
Piers Morgan, Uncensored, Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on Talk TV.
Yes, this is a Saturday night talkaway with Andre Walker and Danielle Nicholls. It's the last one, isn't it?
It's the last one. It's the last one at 7 o'clock. We are going nowhere except to a different time slot. So please remember that next week. If you like watching us and you want, and especially that it was going to be a bit more edgy, if you want to have your own say, you'll be able to pick up the phone and give us a ring. It's basically 2 hours of calls. So that'll be from 11 o'clock next weekend.
The reality is that James has asked to come on slightly earlier, as you know that he's had some medical problems, and so he's going to come on earlier, and we're going to go on a little bit later. Do him a bit of a favour.
We're good like that,
That means he can get back to Kent in time for the pub and all that sort of thing. It's all good. By the way, I've just seen something that I think is really, really sad. I've just seen some footage of a female Israeli soldier. It purports to say that she was captured and taken to the Gaza Strip, and it's fair to say that the distribution of her blood suggests, on the clothing, suggests that she'd been attacked pretty. Well, I mean, she had blood on the trousers. Let's just leave it. Let's leave it at that. So obviously, it's a horrendous situation, and I think genuinely, our thoughts and prayers with anybody who's been affected by this today, because there are still people hiding in their homes.
No one wants to take sides. People just don't. We don't need this, do we? We don't need to be fighting.
No, indeed, it's a pretty horrible situation to be in. Anyway, Les Miserables was attacked. Well, not attacked, but it was disrupted by Just Stop Oil this week.
Did they go back, or was that the end of the show? I know that's the end of the show. But did they do the finale again?
I don't know, but we can find out. I think that probably was.
They didn't restart the show.
And it's all about getting the big red flag out at the end. Do you hear the people sing? Sorry, I'm not
do that again.
That's me performing that.
Very good.
C-Sec, that is.
Well done.
Thank you.
Go on, do it again.
Thank you, Andy. Well, I'm not singing on demand. You'll make fun of me.
Go on. Go on.
Oh my God. Okay, do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the sound of all the people who will not be slaves again.
She's superb.
When the beating of your heart, I can sing.
Very good. And that's cost a fortune in royalties now. But well done, you.
That's it now. Yeah, Talk TV have to pay for that now.
I won't do it now because it's got swearing in, but I can sing gangster rap classic Forgot About Dre.
He can, and he has done the whole thing.
Amazing.
And I'm like, I believe you now.
I reckon you can do this in your late night show. There should be a segment. I'd love it.
So look, there has been disruption to a whole heap of things, and there's been a lot of controversy, by the way, about what constitutes protest and what constitutes harassment. Anyway, John Fuller is an Extinction Rebellion spokesman, and he joins us now. John, welcome.
Hello, John.
Thank you for having me on. Very kind of you.
Okay, so look, do you think that really Extinction Rebellion and indeed Just Stop Oil and all of these people really just are attempting to harass the public rather than mount a legitimate protest?
Well, it was a Just Stop Oil process, not Extinction Rebellion.
Sorry, I misspoke. I do apologise.
That's all right. It's okay. Easy mistake to make. But young people involved in Just Stop Oil genuinely fear that their government is going to kill them. They genuinely fear that government is adopting a series of policies that could end their lives. If I genuinely believe that Andrew Eborn is a lizard man beamed down from the planet Zog, that doesn't give me the right to discriminate against him, because that just makes me mad. Well, it's on the government's own website. On the government's website, if you look it up, you'll see adapt or die. Now, if you've got a science or engineering degree at university, you're a young person, you know that threat is real. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go and punch somebody? Are you going to attack somebody? Or are you going to do what they did, which is stick religiously to non-violent direct action? I think that the protest is incredibly disruptive. I feel incredibly sorry for everybody who has... But you don't really, though, do you? I know I do.
Oh, come on, you don't. I mean, I mean, you would stand outside. I mean, there are people who stand outside butchers with megaphones. There are people who throw paint on pictures. There are people that stop ambulances from going to hospitals. This is actually got nothing to do with politics. It's got something to do with an age of narcissism, where what you say is more important than what you do, and what you believe is more important than democracy, freedom, and other people's rights. It's narcissistic.
Well, the Mail and Sun will tell people that, and then that's repeated parrot fashion. But these people genuinely believe that their lives are imperilled, and you'll find people. I genuinely believe that these people would stick me in a gulag if they ever came into political power. Does that give me a right to round them up and preemptively lock them up? Well, they are being rounded up and preemptively locked up in some cases, yes. So that's already happened.
Oh, so in that case, you must say my right to fight
only when
against...
they did the ridiculous thing of climbing up on the Dartford crossing, things that were put people's...
I'll tell you something, and I said this. I worked at the House of Commons when we had those Fathers for Justice people, and I have to say, climbing up Big Ben, you know, there were armed police there, and I personally believe that there have been attacks on Westminster which have not been thwarted as a result of armed police's reluctance to shoot people making incursions into the building in case they are protesters.
Let's go. John, can I clarify a couple of points? We had the wonderful scientist Brian Catt on earlier. What are your qualifications?
Oh, I just listen to the science. I listen to reputable scientists who...
what science? Because Brian says there isn't.
Really important point, because I'm not a scientist, so I come at this with an open mind. I am a lawyer, and as a lawyer, I like to question everything and make sure that everything's balanced. Just be really clear, one thing, you condemn, is that right? You condemn the behaviour of some of the people who are doing this in the name of Just Stop Oil, is that right?
No, I'm not. I'd say the only wrong protest is to sit indoors and do nothing but
So you support, just really clear on this, I'm trying to do this respectfully, you support what they did with people who paid hundreds of pounds to go to Les Miserables in a really difficult time. You support the action that was taken by the people who've done this in the name of Just Stop Oil, is that right?
I wouldn't do it myself.
But you support them.
I understand why they feel...
No, understanding is different because they're passionate and everything else. Do you support what they did?
I would not do it, but
yes or no, do you support what they did?
I understand why they do it.
No, I understand. Do you support what they did, yes or no?
Well, I wouldn't do it myself.
No, I'm assuming you're saying no, you don't support what they did. Is that right?
I personally wouldn't do it, but I understand why they do it.
I understand because they... And that's the other thing that Brian said. He said they're a cult. We'll come on to that. No. Do you support, yes or no? Really simple question. Yes or no, do you support what they did for people who spent hundreds of pounds on what was supposed to be a really nice night? They ruined their night on what actually could be a terrible sort of thing. Some people's escape in really, really difficult times. They ruined their night. Do you support the fact that they ruined their night?
No,
I'm okay, so let's deal with that. Yeah. No, so we're good on that one. You don't support their action on that. You wouldn't do it yourself, but you say. Let me finish. I'll let you finish. You say you understand why they do it. Let's have a look at this.
Yeah.
What Brian also said to them, because he's a scientist, you're not, I'm not, so I have to listen to the scientist. He said that they're wrong on the science. Where are you getting your science from?
No. We depend upon the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the Committee on Climate Change.
So is Brian wrong? Are you saying that Brian's wrong?
Sorry?
Is Brian wrong?
Brian's the scientist. Is he wrong?
He's the scientist. He's given me his card. Here we go. He's
something you found down the back of the internet. I don't know who he is.
He's not somebody I found down the internet. The researchers here are probably some of the best researchers in the world. We have top guests on, and it's a bit patronising to say to him, I have admitted I'm not a scientist, so I need to listen to the scientist. I've also said that I will listen to a balanced view. You're not a scientist, so I am asking you where you got your information from. I've had a scientist here, he told me.
Panel on Climate Change.
Sorry?
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change.
And what do they say? Because Brian said...
Every single government in the world signs up to that.
Can I just interrupt? Can I interrupt very quickly? What Brian says is that in the modelling that they put together, they didn't take into account the fact that there is a natural cycle of the Earth warming and cooling. And what he said, actually, which I thought was fascinating, was this. There is no doubt that human intervention has led to a warming of the atmosphere.
He admitted that.
However, there is also a cycle of warming and cooling, which is why there's been ice ages, warmer periods and colder periods. And what we are doing is we are ignoring the fact that there is a cycle. So what they are simply... So his argument is... Hang on a second, John. I'm explaining what happened. He said, what is taking place is we are ignoring the massive natural effect that takes place and focusing all of our attention on the infinitesimally small impact that humans are having. So effectively, the Earth, hang on a second, the Earth warms and cools by 12 degrees, but because we can add 0.1% to 1 degree, that is what we are focusing on and actually potentially destroying our economy. Now, I have to say to you, I've made this point before, the last ice age was defrosted by global warming, and Neanderthal man did not have a 3-litre Volvo.
And I once made a video for Dudley Council, and parts of the Black Country used to be under tropical waters.
OK, so if you check on the NASA website, every single NASA scientist would disagree with your friend Brian. So do you count Brian as being a
perhaps you can help me, because I'm not debating Brian Katz, right? What my point is this: I've explained what he said, and you said that you've read the science and understand it. He says that the IPCC does not take into account a natural effect because the models were started in 1980.
Do you not think there is a natural effect then? Do you disagree that there's a natural effect?
Yeah, they have completely taken that into account. There are no reputable scientists anywhere that disagree with.
Actually, do you know what? This is what annoys me. This is what annoys me about people like you, because actually there are reputable scientists that disagree. When you say there are no reputable scientists, what you mean is you have no right to disagree with me. Any scientist that disagrees with me is by definition not creditworthy, not somebody to be listened to. And I think that's a phenomenally dangerous situation, because I repeat the comment that I've made before. Every single theory written by Aristotle is wrong. All of them. This is one of the greatest thinkers in human history. And the reason why every single thing he said was wrong was because science has moved on, our understanding of the world has moved on. This idea, I'll just keep talking, doesn't bother me. This idea that what we're going to do now is say under no circumstances will we allow any scientist to disagree with me because I happen to think I know better is so ridiculous. It is as stupid as the Spanish Inquisition attempting to lock up Christopher Columbus for believing that he could sail around the world.
It's just not the way the IPCC works. It's not.
That's the way you work. But it's you that said it. The IPCC didn't say never listen to another scientist other than us. That was you.
No, that's not what
I think you should apologise. I think you should apologise. I think you should apologise to Brian Catt. I really do. Because
if you're seriously listening to a scientist who says that climate change is
I'm seriously listening to a bloke who doesn't know anything about science and freely admits it.
And what I would also say, John, you have to be really careful.
Throw insults if you like.
Okay, no, and you're right. Don't throw insults. Let's look at John. Let's look at the fact, John. Let's look at the facts, because you're right. Calling somebody not reputable is defamatory. So I just let me just be really clear. I am a lawyer.
I am a lawyer. It has to be wrong.
Sorry. It's defamation to call somebody not reputable. It is defamation. So this is the principle. We want to do this in a very respectful way. Let me finish. What would it take to persuade you that what you're saying is wrong? What would it take to persuade you?
The IPCC. I'd accept the science from the IPCC. So there were thousands of scientists involved in that process.
Okay. So you would change if the evidence is there. If the evidence is there, and you get scientists who turn around and say, "Actually, we've got it wrong," you would believe those scientists. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
By the way, sorry. Just to say one final thing, because I do want to give you a couple of minutes, John. I just want to ask you, in terms of when we're going to go extinct. Can you tell me when it is? Because I've got a holiday booked for Christmas, and I wouldn't like to waste my money on it. I'm going to give you some time now. When are we going to become extinct?
We've got to have the courage to protect our young, Andre. I call upon you to step up and find that courage.
OK, when are we going to become extinct?
When's the world ending?
4 billion years from now? A long way off. We don't need to worry about the sun's expansion for 4 billion years.
Well, that's good. So you deplore the actions. You don't need to worry about the thing. The final thing then on this particular side is what they also suggested is that Just Stop Oil is a cult with a lot of people looking for some sort of sense of belonging. Is that a fair comment?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
I have... Sorry?
Well, why do you think it's not? There are a lot of people who are not scientists, and we talk about qualifications, reputable or otherwise. They're not scientists. They're looking for a sense of belonging. And if you scare people, I'll tell you what it was.
Let me make
the point.
They've got university degrees.
We talked about university degrees. Edward Bernays said one of the most powerful human emotions for selling anything is fear. Fear. So what happens if you scare a lot of vulnerable minds? They will follow that narrative with very eloquent people such as yourself, and you'll turn around and you'll tell them, all these other scientists are disreputable, listen to us because you're going to die. They're going to say, oh my goodness, what have I got to do? I've got to disrupt other people on stage and so on and so forth to make people aware. And I've seen people who are very passionate about it, which is why you see people crying and so on and so forth. And it's sad. Because they believe genuinely that the world's going to end. The scientists that we're speaking to don't.
They went on the government's website. It's on the government's own website, Adapt or Die. So
I mean, I think that's a piece of phraseology. By the way, look, we don't have much time left, and to be honest, John, there's a lot of people that we interview from organisations like yours who just simply refuse to engage. You've done that, so I think you've earned the opportunity to take the last minute to tell us exactly what you want now to say to the British nation.
Right. Well, I think we all need to step up and protect our young. Young people are very frightened about their future. They watch ITV, Sky News, Channel 4 News, BBC News. They see the forest fires. They see crops being damaged. And all of us need to step up and now protect our young.
OK, well, look, thank you so much, John. This debate
thank you very much.
I
don't think our children should live in fear, but thank you very much, John, for chatting with us.
You'll die of climate change. You'll die of old age, we'll die of climate change, I think is a very sad message to have given to you.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. And to his genuine credit, which is why we had to push him, did have to push him, he says that he deplores and he thinks it's wrong that Just Stop Oil use these tactics. That's a really positive stuff. He also turned around and said, actually, he would believe some scientists, they made that. One final point, I love the fact that his email address is Hotmail.
I like that. Right. Now, we've got a very good friend of the show who is Heather Herbert waiting to chat to us. Hi, Heather, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
How are you?
And,
I feel like I know
thank you,
Heather
Andrew,
now.
for describing me.
I feel like I know Heather.
I feel like I've sat in some Heather once.
And Heather, you've been dominating the headlines. My goodness, look at you.
We've got very little time now because we overran slightly with John Fuller. But look, Heather, why don't you tell us about Comic-Con? What is it, and why has it banned Harry Potter?
Okay, yeah. So Comic-Con has decided to pull a panel discussing Harry Potter because Switchboard. LGBT plus Switchboard, which was founded in 1974, so it's actually older than me, which is saying something.
You were 1975, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm 75. Yeah, so you're 1 year before me. But their Switchboard's ideology, Switchboard's ethos is to provide safe spaces for LGBT plus people, and they felt that. The panel discussing Harry Potter wouldn't be a safe space. So they asked Comic-Con to pull it. Comic-Con discussed with the people who were running the Harry Potter thing and Switchboard and decided to pull it.
Do you think that it's the right way to go, Heather, all this? Because I can't think you do, and I'll tell you why. Because Heather comes on this show and makes her point week in, week out. So I don't believe that in your heart, Heather, you think stopping people from being able to communicate is a good thing. Do you, Heather?
I don't think it's a good thing at all, no. I'm all for free speech. The difference is this isn't a free speech thing. This is a panel. This is not like this conversation here where we're having a conversation about an issue or the issue or the conversation before about climate change.
So if the conversation then is essentially going to be about Harry Potter, on a serious note, how does that upset LGBTQ people if it's about Harry Potter?
Well, Switchboard thinks it does. Switchboard thinks it creates an unsafe space for trans people.
But how?
But why don't they why don't they just not go?
That's what the option. That's what they said. They said to Comic-Con, we won't go. We won't host
but what
the Pride event if you.
But do you know why? Do you know why they've said that? I don't understand. We all know why Harry Potter is getting this bad reputation. Yeah. However, right now, as that stands, which is a board to talk about Harry Potter, not about LGBTQ plus trans anything. It's about Harry Potter. How does that make LGBTQ people feel unsafe? That's the bit I don't understand. And I'm not trying to be naive. I understand we all understand what's going on behind there. But if you're actually honest about just the conversation, why would that make people feel afraid?
Well, as you say, it's not just a conversation about Harry Potter. It's not three people discussing fan theories about Harry Potter. Okay. It's all the stuff that goes on behind that.
Okay, well, that makes a little more sense.
Can we? I mean, what's great, Heather? It's brilliant having you on the programme. Is you're a trans right campaigner. You have a voice in this market, and you're brilliant at dominating the headlines as you did a couple of weeks ago. And we didn't go into why that came about. A couple of things. Comic-Con's a fantastic event. I go every year. It's one of my favourite events because it works not just in the big centre, but carrying on there when people are all travelling there. You have a possibility of controlling some of the anger, which is completely wrong in this space where people shouldn't be afraid. What would you like to say to the people who are trying to disrupt this?
I don't think anyone's trying to disrupt this.
Well, people are living in fear. So the panellists are concerned because of the backlash against JK. Against JK. Let's be clear about this. So you, as a trans right activist and campaigner who has an important voice in this space, what would you like to say to the people who are installing this fear?
Exactly what I said to the people who are installing fear on whatever it was I was on earlier this week. It's not about trans people have existed forever. Trans people will always exist. The people installing fear are not trans people. They're not our allies. They're not LGBT plus people. The people installing fear are people like the Conservatives who go around saying that trans women should be banned from single-sex
I'm very sorry, we're going to have to...
spaces, when in fact there's been 0 complaints about trans women in single-sex spaces in hospitals.
Okay, well, look...
And in the same time period, there was 200,000 complaints about other people.
Heather, look, we just don't have any time to stick with you, but thank you so much. That's Heather Herbert, trans rights campaigner. I've got to be honest with you, and I would genuinely just say to people, if you don't like a particular event, just don't go.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
But anyhow.
Yeah,
okay.
Coming up after the break, we'll be talking about the Princess Diana conspiracy theories.
Good.
Hello, welcome back to Talk Radio, Talk TV. I'm Danielle Nicholls. This is Andre Walker.
It's been a bumper show,
it's been a fun. It's been action-packed. It's been a fun show. And we've also we're not done yet, because we've got the conspiracy bit, which is my favourite bit of the show. But just before, I just want to remind you that as of next week, we will be doing the late night phone-in from 11 till 1 a.m, where you can ring in and hit us, basically.
Shut up for a second, right? No, next week we'll be starting. Andre will be starting at 10 o'clock with That Was the Woke That Was, which, by the way, tonight is coming up at 9 o'clock. But we haven't got a huge amount of time with Damien Stephen, our conspiracy theory expert.
Damo.
I'm going to be rushing straight into. We've got Diana ones through and through today, and they're going to get progressively weirder.
I like weird.
I know. So the first one is simply that MI6 agent Richard Tomlinson informed the trial at the time in 1998, the investigations into the crash, that he was told that somebody of high profile a British citizen was going to be killed. Now this is sort of well known. You know, these theories are about. We're sort of familiar with the idea that she was assassinated by the British Secret Service for whatever reason, but it's been tied to Henri Paul, the driver of the car who was killed. that he was actually going to come forward with information and he was actually a secret MI6 or MI5 operative, and that is where the stories of the flashing lights and the blocked roads came from.
Yeah, it's interesting because most maitre d's at most major hotels have some relationship with the security services. That's a legitimate thing because you will have foreign royals and diplomats coming and going. There's nothing illegitimate about that, by the way.
When I was living at the Intercontinental Hotel, they did a political thing, and oh my, you couldn't get in and out. I was like, I live here. Couldn't even get in and out.
And the general thing about conspiracy theories is what happens is we're working in a vacuum and people like to fill the hole, the void.
Oh.
And the reality is this: those who are anti-conspiracy theories have to be right 100% of the time. Those with the conspiracy theories only need to be right once.
Ah.
Oh, like when with jet fuel with 9/11 that can burn steel at certain temperatures but not at others, and they use that little trick to
So we should unpack it, because I think unpacking it, let's look at the evidence, and then we can make an informed decision.
But just on the Diana Henri Paul being an agent, on the whole idea of the flashing lights and all this sort of thing, a lot of people genuinely believe that Princess Diana was murdered and that was the UK security services were involved and Henri Paul was deliberately some form of shill. So actually, that conspiracy theory, you said they were going to get weird, that one actually, wrongly in my view, is mainstream, but it is mainstream.
It is mainstream, and the third one we'll be getting to at the end ties into that one with some explanation that is truly out of this world.
Okay, go. Oh, here we go.
The second one, though, is an interactive little activity I've prepared for you and I on.
My best little bit of drama.
So,
Go on, then, I've got a script here.
Do you want to be Sore Throat, the MI6 informant?
No, I'll do that one.
I can't do a New Zealand accent, but the other one.
Chuff, you're doing the New Zealand accent. I'm going to do the Sore Throat.
I'm not going to try.
Which one am I? The first one?
Yes, you'll be.
Were you aware?
Just say Bonza a few times.
I'll say Bonza. Okay, this is my script. Is it? Were you aware that in the last few months of her life, Diana had begun to take more of an interest in politics?
I don't think I ever took too much of an interest in what she was taking an interest in, I said.
He sighed. Well, she had. And among other things, she was interested in the emergence of the new Russia from the ashes of the Soviet Union.
Why on earth would she do that?
We now think she may have been very heavily critical of Vladimir Putin's tactics and severely opposed his efforts to become a new dictator of the Russian Federation.
But why?
And we all know what happened to Putin's critics and opponents, don't we?
Just a moment, I said. Are you saying what I think you're saying?
What do you think I'm saying?
That Putin arranged for Princess Diana to be...
Shh, said Sore Throat. We at the Foreign Office would never be quite so direct.
And there we have it. An allegation.
So the idea is it's maybe somebody else.
So who are these two people?
It should come with a sound effect, as they say in the gallery. Where did you get this rubbish?
The only one I can do is la 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 la.
I got that from the New Zealand Herald, and it's an article that was published in 2007 about a secret informant that told a New Zealand journalist that Diana's private opposition to the rise of Putin at the end of Yeltsin's regime.
Is there any other evidence? I mean, there are lots of people who are critical of Putin.
Can I say this though? To
well,
you?
He does whack people out though.
I think he's a great guy.
Princess, yeah, fantastic.
If you're watching Putin,
Princess Diana was an icon.
Yeah.
She was fantastic in the way that she reached out to people who were really marginalised. She gave the royal family a whole new concept of meeting people who were considered morally bad because of the HIV thing or whatever. But she wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. And the fact that she had an opinion on the internal struggles within the Kremlin or any other such geopolitical views, I think is
it's a little bit far-fetched. And actually, people always dismiss Diana as not being the bride. And I think that's unfair. She was actually very, very good at relating to people, debating fantastic issues. I had the joy of interviewing her brother, Lord Spencer, and worked on that sort of premise. And the saddest thing of all is that you sort of create a hero and then all of a sudden you get that sort of love-hate relationship with the media, and in the end all these conspiracy
By the way, I saw Charles Spencer getting interviewed on American TV, and they went, "We're now joined by Lord Spencer. Can we call you Earl?" Right? Well, my name isn't actually Earl. My name is the Earl Spencer.
But actually, in amongst all this, it is really tragic. And we've just lost Dodie Fayed's obviously father. Worked on that sort of basis, and throughout his life, life, he went to the grave thinking that there was this
The big problem is with something like this, Princess Diana feared that she might be killed for opposing the royal family. That doesn't mean that the car crash was.
No, and there are letters in more the conspiracy theory backing that up, saying she feared for her life.
Yeah,
and there is
I'll tell you something. Is that a nice segue? I've got one very quickly. My former PA's cousin was one of the photographers in the tunnel in Paris, and he was saying that we were just taking lots of photos, but we decided to leave the country because none of us wanted to be prosecuted. But anyway,
there are tunnels under the tunnels, of course, in Paris. The ancient catacombs.
They are the catacombs. I've been in the catacombs.
And this is one that close confidants of Diana claimed she had been pulled in for a specific purpose. She'd been pulled in to form an interbred hybrid genetic combination of the Windsor and Spencer bloodlines.
Where on earth did you get this wrong? Is this a regular feature?
The Spencer bloodline goes back to the Merovingians.
I know it does.
Which are linked to the Trojans, who one of the I think it was Prince Paris founded what is now modern day.
So run this past us again. Something in the catacombs pulled her down. What are you talking about?
No, we're going to get to it. So apparently, a house in Belgium called the Castle of Darkness.
Okay.
A place where the Queen's mother, the Queen, Mohammed El Fayed, performed satanic rituals.
Yeah, now you're stretching it.
Well, this is what's been claimed, but I don't claim to believe any of this.
Oh, good.
What a surprise, because otherwise we wouldn't let him in the building. But look, we've not got much time. Is that it?
Can I just say though?
No, they worshipped the ancient goddess Diana, and obviously.
She was the goddess of hunting.
And the goddess.
I need to very quickly say though, these of course are conspiracy theories. This is just a little bit of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to make that clear.
And Damien, thank you so much. That's Damien Stephen. But actually, we've got a bit of a surprise for you because, as we said, next week we're changing over.
Who's here?
But James Whale is ill, so he's not going to do 10 o'clock. So my old mate, Russell Quirk is going to be doing the show at 10 o'clock in for James Whale. Look, first of all, congratulations that you're doing this.
Big shoes to fill,
And what are you going to be doing at 10 o'clock?
So we're going to be talking about ULEZ, that Sadiq Khan tax that we all have to talk about.
Oh, isn't that great?
We're going to be talking about transgender issues, which obviously makes a change for this station.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And get you all wound up with Ollie London. And then we're going to be talking to, you'll like this, the most tattooed woman in Britain. She's going to be... bearing almost all the producers.
Okay. Look, I just want to say thank you to our guest co-host Andrew Eborn. Thank you to Damien Stephen. Thank you, of course, to Danielle. And I just want to say, look, obviously James is ill. We're going to swap shows with him from next week. Thank you so much for Russell for coming in at 10 o'clock. And now we've got That Was the Woke That Was.